Right, let's get the latest from Dominic Dyer, animal welfare campaigner and friend of former Royal Marine Pen Farthing, who is currently still stuck in Kabul. Dominic, understand that you spoke to Pen just a few minutes ago, and it really isn't clear as to whether he is going to get home or not.
No, it's, we can't say anything about what the situation is today for him. You can understand all the security concerns. All I can say is we all hope, we're all praying that we can get him, his people and his animals home. That's what was the whole aim and objective behind Operation Ark, which has got so much support from millions of people in this country and around the world. But they are desperate times in Afghanistan, as we've just heard. This is a situation where people are suffering immeasurably with these terrible suicide bombings. Thousands of people likely to be left behind, an evacuation process which is deteriorating by the hour. Is anyone to blame for this? Well, I think President Biden, in my view, because he could have controlled this, he could have prevented this. I think this will haunt him for the rest of his political career. This is a tragedy that could have been avoided. Yesterday for Pen was very difficult for him, his staff team and animals. They were on the road for over 36 hours. They tried very hard to get through the access gates into the airport. They made progress at one key gate. They got in about 200 meters. He thought he had his people there, and then the Taliban stepped in and said, no, sorry, the president has brought in a new visa requirement for Afghan refugees to leave, and we're going to apply that to British refugees as well, and your people are not coming. And Pen was left with a very difficult decision. Does he go on with his animals and himself, or does he turn back with his people? The man he is, the fact he would never leave his people behind, he turned around and took them back.
Oh, it's such a difficult situation. And, everybody's been keeping an eye. I know he tweeted overnight, didn't he, to explain that situation, how they were literally inside at one point and then, as you say, they got moved further out. What's the latest with the plane? Because I know yesterday, Dominic, when we were speaking to you and there was a plan in place to have a plane and to fly it out there, you were going to be on it. What's the latest with that?
Well, we can't fly because the security situation prevented us leaving the United Kingdom. There is a plan that we could operate, but at the moment, of course, that could only work if Pen was in the airport, and we just don't know if that's going to be possible. And I can't really comment on what might happen next because, the security situation the way it is. So we still want to ensure that we can rescue him. Of course we do. We want to rescue his people and his animals. I can't say how difficult this has been. I think there's a lot of discussion at times that we were putting pets before people. No, we're not. This was always a humanitarian mission. I think one of the heartbreaking scenes for me yesterday was just seeing those, veterinary nurses and vets that we've campaigned so hard for to get out on the side of the streets, caring for animals, knowing that it's so traumatic for them that they won't get out of that country. And, that's what drove me on to do this, was to give them hope, to ensure that all the loss of life of our soldiers and all that terrible injuries many of them received was not wasted. They sacrificed a great deal to empower a generation of young people to learn medicine, to learn veterinary medicine. And we wanted to take these people with their animals and bring them to Britain. And I think that was one of the best things we could do. And I still hope that can be done.
I mean, Dominic, we can see just how much it means to you. What do you think Pen will do? You know the man that he is. If it's not possible that everybody can come back, will he come back or will he decide to stay in Afghanistan?
I don't know, to be quite honest with you. I think he will look at what he can do. There might still be options, after the American and British withdrawal to find a way out. And if he can bring his people out doing that, I'm sure he will consider it. He's not someone to leave his people behind. He's one of the most courageous and dedicated people I've ever met. When he asked me a few weeks ago, he said, could you just help me? Because I've got this situation on my hands. And I know you know politicians and you're a good campaigner in the media. I just said, right, I'll take a few weeks off work and I'll throw myself into this. I've been through a roller coaster, as we all have. There's lots of people behind the scenes, amazing people that have been helping that you don't see. But we're all dedicated to him, dedicated to the people that he's inspired and worked with in Afghanistan and to the animals in his care. And, he's an amazing man. If anyone can get them out, even with the circumstances as they are at the moment, it's Pen Farthing. I would never underestimate his courage and his determination to do that. What
conditions were they in yesterday? How close were they to those attacks? Were they in danger at any time?
The whole city is on a knife edge. You've got a lot of young people with guns in a very volatile environment, and you can imagine what that's like. I think we've heard a lot about the Taliban changing since the 1990s. I think what Pen will tell you is you're really beginning to see an atmosphere which is showing you that it's returning to the bad old days very quickly. He was in situations where young people were discharging firearms into the air. One young Taliban soldier or militiaman, whatever you might call him, accidentally discharged a bullet over his head. They don't know what they're doing with these weapons. They had children in the minibuses. You can imagine how terrified they all were. And they were all looking to Penn to lead them through this and to take them to safety. His people are traumatized, and he knows that. I think he's gone through an awful lot trying to protect them, but he's also gone through an awful lot, in my view, to tell the world about how badly run this operation has been, why it was that we should not have left Afghanistan in this way. And your previous speaker was saying about the terror of people. That's why they've been living in their own sewage at that airport. That's why they've been sitting there day in, day out in the stinking heat, holding up their passports. That's why they have nowhere to go. They literally have been left with nowhere to go. Their future is terrifying, and they're willing to risk suicide bombers, and many died yesterday as a result, just to get through that airport. It didn't need to be this way. There were so many things that could have been done if you were going to withdraw that would have allowed people to get out safely. You could have kept Bagram Air Base open. You could have a separate air corridor. You could have had more helicopters. You could have proper places to bring people into security and then bring them into that airport. It's shameful the way this operation has been undertaken. And Penn has told the world about how shameful it is. And he will be back here. And I hope we will learn lessons from this, the British and the Americans. We can never do this to a nation again. We can never do this.
OK, well, listen, we can see, obviously, the strength of feeling from you then. Dominic, thanks very much for joining us. We're about to speak to the Defence Secretary, Ben Wallace, but we will speak to him further about the situation with Penn to find out exactly what's happening on the ground. But thank you for joining us to let us know from your point of view the latest, having spoken to Penn recently. Thank you.